Atomic Minerals is a uranium exploration company focused on underexplored, geologically promising regions in North America. The company controls 6 projects combined in the Colorado Plateau and near the Athabasca Basin. We've got CEO Clive Massey here to give us a quick overview on the company and an outlook for their plans in the coming year. I'm Martin Gago with Market Radius Research. Please remember, this is neither a recommendation nor investment advice. We're here to learn about the company. Clive, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Martin. It's great to have this opportunity to talk to you.
All right. I'm a
So,
big fan of uranium, and it's nice to talk to you about this. You've got a bunch of projects both in Canada and the US. So, yeah, where's your focus? Give us a little overview on the company and how you got to where you are right now.
our focus really is on our U.S. projects. We are excited about our projects in Canada. For example, our Moisey Lake project has 530 pounds, 530,000 pounds of 0.19 uranium, and it's open in both directions at surface. And we're very excited about that. We also have a project in Quebec. But in terms of our immediate focus, we really are focusing our US projects, which are a rather interesting geological model. They're all based on what's called a salt wash anticline. Salt wash anticline is not only excellent for the deposition of uranium, it's also excellent for the deposition of oil and gas. Now, the only salt wash anticline on the Colorado Plateau that's been extensively explored is the Lisbon Valley anticline. And the Lisbon Valley anticline, at the height of its production, amongst 2,100 producing mines in Utah, which is about the number that there were by the mid 1960s, 82% of all the uranium produced in Utah actually came from the Lisbon Valley anticline. There were 17 mines on the Lisbon Valley anticline, and as I say, produced 82% of all the uranium produced from Utah. So they are extremely productive, both for oil and gas, and the Lisbon Valley was extremely productive for uranium. So what we have done is we have gone and staked a number of claims on the Harts Point anticline, the 10 Mile anticline, and the Dolores anticline. All of our staking has been based on historical oil and gas holes that were drilled, obviously, by the oil and gas industry. Now, they logged all those holes because they wanted to know precisely where they were in the stratigraphy in relation to the oil-bearing horizon. So what we found by studying literally hundreds of these drill holes, I'll use Harts Point as an example. Harts Point has 3 holes that were drilled by the oil and gas industry. They cover a distance of approximately 3 miles. The favorable sandstone unit that has produced the highest grades and the thickest mineable widths in Utah was the Mossback. So what we find in these historical oil and gas holes is the Mossback sandstone unit at the same elevation and the same thickness and the same off-scale gamma kicks in each hole. Now, if those 3 holes were connected, we might have 100 million pounds. It's unlikely that they are connected. These types of deposits are flat, lying, amoeba-shaped deposits, which can be very, very close together. For example, at Lisbon Valley, the Big Buck, the Mavita, and the Standard, which were all standalone, very large uranium mines, were only separated by in some cases, a few hundred yards, and some a few hundred feet. So what we're looking for on these salt wash anticlines is entire ore belts, not just 10 million pounds here and 20 million pounds at the other anticline. We're looking at great big ore belts, just like what was found at Lisbon Valley. So we've staked Harts Point based on those oil and gas holes. We've staked the 10 Mile anticline, which also has a number of holes which have penetrated the same sandstone unit at the right elevation. And to have a nice uranium deposit, you need to have the Mossback at a reasonable thickness. In other words, 30 feet or 90 feet is much more appealing than 6 or 7 feet. And so we have the Mossback in 30 to 90 foot thicknesses. So these are highly prospective holes. We can tell by looking at the gamma readings. There's uranium there. It's just a question of, is there 10 million pounds or 10 pounds? And so on that basis, our Harts Point project is presently permitted, and we expect to be on the ground there by April drilling. Our 10-mile project is to go through the permitting process fairly shortly, as is our Dolores project. Now, the Harts Point and the 10 mile are both in Utah. The Dolores is just over the border in Colorado. And the same things can be said in relation to its technical appeal. Oil and gas holes, same sandstone unit, same potential ore bearing horizon, off scale gamma kicks. So we're very, very excited about this opportunity. And this is something that hasn't really been exploited. So we're looking at the Lisbon Valley model. We have also recently staked the eastern side of the Lisbon Valley anticline. Anticlines, in a nutshell, are essentially a football-shaped geological feature that creates a dome that comes out of the ground, but they're an elongated oval. So Lisbon Valley, that produced the 82% of uranium that was produced there in Utah, is on the west side of the anticline. So we've staked the east side on the basis of 13 oil and gas holes. Same story, intersected the favorable sandstone unit at approximately the same elevation and thickness all the way through. So we've got it in 13 holes. We've staked 375 claims there. We've sold 2/3 of those claims to American Atomics, and we've retained 75 claims of our own. And that will be going through the permitting phase fairly shortly. I should also add that I think it's reasonably safe to say when I say this, that we have more uranium discoveries, our technical team and management team, more uranium discoveries under its belt than any other junior uranium company out there that I know of. And that totals 4. So we've got a very sophisticated, experienced technical team, which spans geologists who worked in Lisbon Valley in the 1970s to geologists that have made discoveries like Matt Schwab did in the Athabasca Basin at Rough Rider, and also at NextGen, and also at Arrow. And my last company, which was Universal Uranium, in that last uranium market, we made a brand new discovery in the Central Labrador Mineral Belt. We structured a deal to sell our 51% interest to our joint venture partner for 100 times our original investment, which was $150 million. Unfortunately, the deal came unraveled as a result of 2008 credit crunch. But my point is really simply this, Martin. I've got very appealing projects, a highly skilled technical team. We've done this before. We can do it again. I have put projects into production, and frankly, it's nothing less than brain damage. So our intent with these projects is essentially make discoveries and sell them off to the highest bidder. That's the fastest path to profits for our investors, and that really is the story in a nutshell.
I'm curious on the Colorado Plateau. Is there current production going on there, or was it all historical? And in what era was it? The 1970s and 80s that was production going on there, or kind of what era was that?
The original discovery was made, I can't remember the precise date, but it was in July 1952. And
Okay, that's pretty precise.
that was the discovery of the Mavita uranium mine. And then that led to the discovery of the Big Buck, and then the Standard, and then the Ike Nixon, and eventually there were 17 producing mines. And so the circumstances in which you sold your uranium in the 50s, 60s, and 70s was it was mandatory that you had a contract with the AEC, the Atomic Energy Commission.
Hmm.
So toward the end of the 1970s, what actually happened was Atlas Corporation, which was formed by Floyd Odlum, who was often referred to as the master of cash and the king of Wall Street, formed Atlas Corporation, consolidated all these uranium mines, and the only way you could get out of your contract with the AEC was if your ore body was exhausted. So the uranium market price-wise collapsed, but Atlas Corporation had to continue to produce uranium at a loss, and they eventually went bankrupt. And so all those ore bodies were pretty much exhausted. And what was left behind by companies like Atlas Corporation was literally spooned out by the locals, when shoveled out by the locals. So any new production that's going to take place down there is going to really be new discoveries. There is some production. UR Energy has a small producing mine at LaSalle, which is the crow flies, is only a few miles from Lisbon Valley. But generally, production is going to be from new discoveries. And I should also mention that the White Mesa Mill is owned by UR Energy. It's depending on which project we're at, it's anywhere from 70 to 45 miles from our projects, and they're going to be looking for feed as well. So there's lots of opportunity here.
I'm curious with your strategy of making a discovery and then selling it off, not going through the process of actually developing it. Given the current state of the industry, how far would you have to develop it or define the resource? Do you need to get a resource estimate or a PEA or anything like that? And how many pounds do you think in the ground would you need for it to be attractive to someone?
Well, Martin, there isn't an absolute answer to that. But for example, UR Energy and a number of other corporations are continually looking for more pounds in the ground. So,
Yeah.
UR Energy could essentially be a bidder or a suitor, I should say. UEC could essentially be a suitor as well. Any number of the French corporations could also be here. Um, in terms of what's attractive to them, obviously, when you ask about PEs and so on, the more advanced the project is, obviously, the greater value it's going to have. When we did that deal at Universal Uranium, we had one single drill hole, and we were looking at selling it for 150 million.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
um, that gives you at least some idea. I think
So
if
it can
we
be
had,
pretty early stage when value is realized from it. It doesn't have to
yes,
be a multi-year
precisely,
process. Okay.
precisely.
So you've got an experienced management team, and you're getting your first. You expect to start drilling relatively early in the new year. Is that correct?
We've just closed the financing, $700,000 oversubscribed, I might add. And we have gone through the permitting phase, and we're just talking to drill contractors and so on. And I'm, all things being equal, I'm expecting to be on the ground by April.
I think we've covered the high level stuff. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
I think we've covered it all, Martin. Thank you very
Excellent.
much for your time. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Clive, thank you. I appreciate the update and learning about the Colorado Basin and the opportunities that are there. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.